so many years ago. You can make me feel like it isn't so. And why you can want to be with me, I think I finally know.
Hello.
Hi guys, and hi James.
Hello, Claire. Oh my God. It's been so long.
It's really sad that I have to come all the way to Europe to see you. It's true though. No, we see each other. Okay?
No, yeah.
We're,
We see each other.
but not often enough.
Well, you're so pretty.
Oh,
I don't like
okay, pull it
to
back.
sit next to you because I feel like I look old.
No, but he looks no older than when you filmed the show.
Oh, stop. We're talking to you folks today, right? Well, we got backstage.
Yeah, I'm already sure about your stories.
Who's brave and who wants to kick off? I know we just had our burgers, but who's brave and has a question? There's someone there with a microphone. Yes.
But you have to travel to her.
Yeah. Right there.
James, you're a method actor. How was it when you went home after being evil or playing Ted Bundy or playing Declan Horn? How was it in home life?
Wow, good question. The difficulty wasn't in method acting, because I can be a method actor if you pay me to do that, and I can also be, I don't know what the term is for the other, but there are different acting styles and they have different strengths and weaknesses. But the thing that I run into is that acting in general is a very self-referential state of mind. It's a very selfish place to be. Is my hair okay? How do I look? How am I walking? What do I feel right now? Am I in touch with my emotions, right? And then, how many people here are parents? Okay, those of you who are not parents yet, go home tonight, call your parents and say thank you. Because it's not easy. Oh my God, it's not easy. So, and I have two great kids and it's still hard. So, and the hard thing about parenting for me anyway, is to not really care how I'm feeling. And not really show how I'm feeling. And just be patient and listen and kind of be steadfast as they get to go through their emotions, and I don't respond emotionally. And so it's a completely different frame of mind. And so trying to go from selfish to selfless on the drive home, that's the challenge. What do you think? You heard the same.
I studied at Strasbourg in New York. I love method acting. I don't always use it because you don't always have to. And for Gloria to not use method acting, that was not necessary. Excuse me, but yeah, I mean, to me, especially with the character of Glory, she was a lot of fun to play, but also exhausting. And so I did not have kids when I was filming Buffy. I do now, but I didn't then. And so the drive home would always be about just like letting go of everything that happened at work, letting go of, the emotions being at the tip of your being, ready for display and kind of just like zoning out. I think that's the biggest challenge is with that hour after you step away from the set for the day, just that relaxation has to set in.
Hi.
Hello.
Earlier today, we heard the story of Gloria. Sorry. We heard your story about the audition. I never heard yours. So I was wondering, how did your audition go? Did you get invited? Did you go yourself? You have a funny story about it.
Yeah, for Buffy? Yeah, let's see. I went in. There were different forms of what. The first one I went in alone, just reading myself, And I don't remember that one too well. I just did the accent, and I guess they called me back in, and they said, do you do any other accents? And I said, I'll do anything you pay me for, man. Like, I told them, I can do any accent that you cast me for. Like, don't ask me to do Chinese. Like, I can give you a Chinese accent, but it's like a cartoon, but it's like Italian, French. And they said, okay, can you do one from the South? And I went, oh, I've got a great one for you. Because I just finished a play where I did a Southern accent, an American Southern accent, and it was a play where this guy's a murderer and he seduces a woman on the phone using the fake accent. And it kind of sounded like this. Hi, how you doing, honey? That's perfect. All right. Well, what are you doing tonight? Well, that sounds wonderful. So I kind of like that. Because I thought that was very, very seductive. Right? And I was surprised. The audience thought that the man on the phone was a black man. And someone told me, said, James, of course they think you're black. That specific accent in America, if it was 150, 200 years ago, white people talked like that. But now, in modern America, the only people that still have that accent are black people. And so when they said, do a Southern accent, my mind went immediately to that accent because I was like, oh, he's a vampire. It's perfect. And so he would have that accent. And so I used that one, and they thought that was nice. They said, well, we still want punk rock, so we'll just keep it that. And they called me again with Juliet. And I remember I got into the room, and there were all these young actors that are also reading for Spike. And I was so proud, because I just came off of a really successful Macbeth. I was a stage actor, and I was like, you film actors. And I just decided to give into this ego that I had. And I still learned.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
In International, you guys have quite an intense torture fatigue where Glory's torturing Spike. I want to see how you guys felt about that, as how many hostility towards Glory.
I like torturing Spike.
And then Jane came with quite a comeback to the love side of nasty stuff. I'm like, I can't really say that. How do you guys like that?
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like?
It's all about trust. You know, when you're doing stunts, do you trust that person? Are they going to hurt you? Can you? Because if you feel safe with the other actor, then you can kind of release and really play it. But if you're afraid, like, are they going to hurt me right now? Then you're kind of tight, and the acting isn't so good. And I trust you.
Yeah, we trust each other.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. But you're not safe right now, Sarah. As soon as they call action, all bets are off. And then I fell in love with, this Spike falls in love with her, and I'm like, even when they call action, have my coat, Buffy. Was nice to you, Buffy. It's not the same job anymore. But then they put me over on Angel, and I got to be the jerk friend from out of town who will not get off your couch and leave, you know? And I got to ruin David's day. You know? And again, David is a great person, and I really love working with him. But he was the lead, so I just wanted to give him a headache. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question for Spike. You was my inspiration for my actress job in Germany. Which person was your inspiration?
Wow. Oh, so many. I guess the biggest one for me is Meryl Streep. Yeah. I think she is the bomb. She plays a wide range of characters, but there's always this bubbling little girl underneath everything she does that I think is the real Meryl. That I'd love to have tea with Meryl because I just think there's this wonderful little kid in there that I like to talk to. But just on top of that joy and love is such a technical beast You know, she's got such technique that she can run all that instinct through this technique and just come up with these wildly different characters. When I was young, a film called Deer Hunter came out. Michael Cimino. It was about the Vietnam War with Robert De Niro, John Savage. God, so many actors were in that film.
Such an amazing film. We should see it. It came out in 74, I think.
Wow. Yeah. So,
obviously you watched it when you were in
on video, yes. Oh no, I'm old again. No. There's a scene where Robert De Niro is a prisoner of war with this actor named John Savage, who is not as famous as De Niro, but they're being forced to play Russian roulette so that the Viet Cong can bet on them, like who's going to die first. And it's this game that the other army is playing, and they're being forced to, take the bullet and spin it like that. And John Savage is like, I can't do it, and he's just breaking down. And he has an emotional breakdown. And De Niro's saying, if you don't do it, we're both going to die. Do it. And Savage just absolutely melts down on camera. And I remember looking at that as a young stage actor and just being like, I don't understand how he got there. If I could ever be that raw and that intense and that honest and that ugly and beautiful at the same time, that's what I want to try to do. And so, John Savage, in a weird way. Yeah.
The lyrics of Rest in Peace.
Do I remember the what?
The lyrics.
Lyrics.
Rest in peace. I'd love to sing it with you.
2, 3.
I died so many years ago. You can make me feel like it isn't so. Why you want to be with me? I think I finally know. I just I don't speak very good English, so
It sounds good to me.
my friend translates for me. So what's your favorite singer or actor?
Oh, singer or actor? I mean, I think for me it's really hard to pick. It's like picking a favorite child almost. 'Cause I have such a passion and an appreciation for both music and the art of acting. I don't know. I gotta get back to you on that. I just don't know. I don't have a favorite. I have a top like 20.
What about James?
Tom Waits. The guy that sounds like this? Oh, I love him.
We have a country full of guys that sound
Oh,
like
I
that.
know. Tom Waits writes the most beautiful songs, the most lyric, light melodies, and then he sings them as if he's got ground glass in his throat. And I just think it's the most amazing thing. As far as actors right now, I think Tom Hardy is pretty damn good as far as people who are out there right now. Tom Hardy keeps surprising me consistently.
And your writer, your favorite writer?
For books or... Well, I'll tell you a really great book. I know everyone's talking about the movie The Martian, but if you want to read the book, Andy Weir, he self-published that book because no one wanted to publish it. He went to like 25 publishers and they all said, sorry, dude, it's going to be a failure. And so he finally published it himself and look what's happened. It's a very inspirational story. I love Drew Goddard's doing some great work right now. Another alum of the Whedon family.
He wrote the screenplay for The Martian.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. Charles Bukowski is really good. He writes about the underclass in America, really gritty stuff, but there's love underneath all the hatred.
Actually, my favorite book is Buffy. That's the only book I could read until the end.
Right on.
Yeah. And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Is that a rain, by the way? None of us will know. We're in here all weekend, right?
Hey, brother.
when the switch happened at the end of season 5 between the WB and BPN, you know, the WB was cleverly attempting to promote it as the end of Buffy in terms of our ratings. When you actually shot the episode, did you guys know that it was going to go on, or was there still, there was still talks?
The show was done.
No, when it switched from the WB to
Right,
the
but at the end of season 5, it had not been picked up by, no. That's why they ended season 5 like that.
I did not know.
Yeah, you were just living in La La Land. Serious regular. I was clinging on to reoccurring status. I knew what was up. No, that's why they ended it that way. Just like at the end of season 1, they did not know if there would be a season 2, which is also why Buffy died then.
You know the funny thing about switching networks though, like the WB had been on the air for a while, so they had this office called the Standards and Practices Office, which is basically, they will tell the shows, no, you can't do that, that's too naughty. And the UPN hadn't been around, they had no department like that. And so for one season, the writers knew that they would be able to get away with murder. And so they threw everything in that they wouldn't get away with, and they knew that after one season, UPN would catch up and they would be told, you're too naughty, and they wouldn't get away with it. But for one season, that's why, is it 6? So that's why 6 just went off great. Like, wow, we're doing what? Yeah.
I don't remember that because I wasn't there, James.
That's the season where I wore socks.
Another question. When Angel started, it is the opinion of some people that, you know, the quality of Buffy wasn't quite the same as it was in the high school years. Was Joss not as around as he was, as he once was, or because he had 2 shows to manage? You guys felt that on the set that he was, you know, more on Angel or between the 2 of them?
Joss was always in it. Like, when I met him in season 2, he and Marty Noxon were writing all of the scripts, 22 episodes a year, and they were killing themselves. Because most television shows have 7 to 9 writers writing all the material. They had 2. And in season 3, I think it was, Joss doubled down and wrote all the scripts and then read like 1,000 submission scripts and found 9 writers who were amazing throughout and among them. David Fury, Jane Espenson, all of the Buffy writers, who were all of them completely unknown and therefore very cheap. But to find those people out of nowhere, he had to read all of these scripts and just basically audition writers by reading their material constantly. And so he really almost killed himself on season 3 to find them. But then once he had them, he was able to come up with a basic story arc for the season and for each episode, and do some basic structural planning, and then just let them write it. And then he would take the script that they wrote and then rewrite it, and so that it was a lot funnier. And then he would be in editing. So even though he was off, like when I was, most of the time on Buffy, he was actually on the set of Angel. And then when I went to Angel, he was off doing Firefly. I hated him for that. It's like, you don't love me, do you? But he had his fingers in it the whole time. He's a control freak. He didn't turn his back on any of the projects. I think that to some degree, when people say the quality wasn't as good, it's just because Joss is not interested in giving the audience what they want. He's interested in giving the audience what he thinks you need. And he's not interested in pleasing the audience so much as terrifying them and making them feel uncomfortable. And so sometimes watching a Joss Whedon show, the pill is a little hard to swallow. But it makes it more interesting, I think, over the long run.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bonjour, Claire. Claire, I would like to ask you, you are very pretty. And when you appeared at the 5th season in jealousy from your female colleagues at that time? Because they were very famous, but they were not all beautiful like you. And I was jealous of you because at that time my boyfriend was in love with you. And he disappeared with a woman younger than me.
Well, first of all, you are beautiful, and I'm sure you were just as beautiful back then. So, absolutely. Are you married to your boyfriend, or did you get rid of him? Or he's still kind of whatever. We'll talk about that later. But thank you for that. Thank you. That's very, very flattering. The show was filled with a bunch of lovely ladies. And that is a difficult question that I'm not sure I can really answer politically. So we'll just leave it at that.
That's a yes. Oh, all the girls were jealous of me.
I was jealous of James.
I wore more makeup than
You
Buffy.
wore more makeup
How
than...
can you not be pretty when you wear that much makeup?
Your hair was good. It was on point. It was. It was very beautiful blonde.
And it's about your former career before Spike when you were an actor on stage with Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And is it true, Jess, that you were in the Tempest, if I remember, that you were completely naked on stage on a wheel? Is it true?
Yeah, that was my professional debut. That was the first professional job I had.
They don't get to wear socks on stage.
No, they I got cast in the biggest theater in Chicago, Goodman Theater, like the big one. Like if you get into the Goodman, you get hired everywhere after that. It was a big break of my career, and I got to start on that level. It was fabulous, and I was so excited. What I didn't know is that the season that I got cast was the artistic director's first season as artistic director. Artistic director is like the head of the whole thing creatively. And he came from the Remains Theater, which was this really edgy, dark, young people's theater company. And he took over the old, stodgy Goodman Theater. And he wanted to kick out all of the older subscription base, and he wanted new young people to come into the theater. So he was trying to offend his own audience. So he put complete nudity all through it. Just trying every play, he would just for no reason put a naked person out there, just to hopefully drive out the people who couldn't deal with that and get a new fresh blood into his audience. And I was the naked guy in that.
On a wheel?
Yeah, so I get into rehearsal, and it's my first professional job. I'm like, oh boy, I'm getting paid money. Oh, this is great. And Bob's like 7 feet tall. He's like, son, can I talk to you? Okay. I think for your entrance in here, what I'm going to do, we're going to have you naked, and you know Da Vinci's Perfect Man on the wheel, like spring. That's you. So you're going to be wheeled out there. I'm just like, what? And I've already signed the contract. I'm like, what the fuck? What? And they told me, he said that it would be lit very tastefully with shadows and everything. And I was like, okay, that's a little more comfortable. But the lighting director broke his leg in Aspen the day before we went into technical rehearsals. So his assistant lit it like Vegas. It's just bright lights right out there. And I remember that I was tied into the wheel, and the sprites, the little fairies that wheeled me on stage, were actually naughty people. And they would show me Playboy magazine before they wheeled me out to try to get me to embarrass myself. And I was sitting and they go out. I said, that was my professional debut.
As you were very handsome, it was not a problem for the audience, especially for the women.
It's been dignity. Dignity, all my careers. Nothing but dignity.
And why not the men?
Thank you.
Just a little announcement for Kristine photos, all VIP classes in Glory line.
My favorite Glory line?
Yeah, because she had pretty good line.
So she did. She had a lot of good lines, but I always liked the line in the 100th episode where she kicks off Buffy's head and the head rolls, and I'm like, the Slayer's a robot? Did anybody else know the Slayer was a robot? It was just always really, really funny to me, you know.
Okay. And my second question is, are you still in contact with Charlie Dever, who played Ben? And if you meet him one day, please take a picture. We'll have Ben and Glory at the same time, and it will be pretty awesome.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. I don't know if there's any pictures that exist of us now that you mention that.
I never saw one.
I haven't seen Charlie in a long time, but I love him, and I hope to see him soon. I know he just got on a series. I think he took a break from acting, and now he's back. So I know he's been Twittering me, and so maybe I'll hook up with him soon. Which, by the way, if you guys, this is a little plug here. If you don't follow James on Twitter, he has a new Twitter account. It is James Marsters OF.
Like official, but not the whole word.
But like official. But you should definitely follow him because he's awesome and he just got the new account. So.
And my question for James is, Spike is a character who evolved a lot during the show. Maybe one of the most beautiful evolution of the show. And I wanted to know what was your favorite moment? What was the most interesting moment for you? For Spike's character? I don't know if I'm clear, I'm sorry. I'm French.
You're very clear. It's a very good question. I've never been asked that before. Wow. Oh, man, there's so
Personally,
many.
I loved a lot season 6. I found that it was very interesting.
The thing is that Joss would come up to me at the beginning of every season. He would knock on my trailer and say, James, can I sit down? Yes, Joss. James, I have nothing for you this season. I have a plan for the season. I have everyone's character arcs. I have the story. I have the theme. I have no ideas for you at all. I'm sorry. And I would say, well, figure it out, because you're paying me, so I'm right here. And I think what happened is that he kind of put Spike in to facilitate the other person's character arcs. But because he was such a good writer, it all stitched together in one journey for Spike as well. But because it wasn't planned out, it took so many interesting turns. If he would have had an idea for Spike, it would have been a nice, clean arc. And Spike's arc is like this, you know. So I started as the badass, and then I went to wacky neighbor, and then I was the wrong boyfriend, and then I was guinea pig hero, and then over on Angel I was the jerk friend from out of town, you know. It was also delicious. I don't know if I could take, like, one of the more interesting times for me, but it was one of the most painful, was when Spike just got his soul and he was down in the basement going insane. And all of that stuff, because what was happening to Spike was he was getting revisited by all of the spirits of his victims, and they were confronting him with what he had done to them. And so, to get into that mind frame, I had chosen to take everything that I felt guilty about in my life and beat myself up about it constantly.
It sounds like fun.
Oh yeah.
Very much.
That's method acting. That's why they say acting isn't healthy. Like,
yeah.
No therapist would say, yeah, do that.
That's why I chose not to do method acting.
Yeah.
I didn't have to, but yeah.
And I kind of went crazy, you know? Like, I was not hanging out with the cast. I was just in my room, in my trailer, you know? But I'm kind of proud that I was able to go there. And it was interesting. I don't know. So many.
I personally found that Senses was particularly interesting because it wasn't really a vampire because of the chip, but it wasn't human either. And I found that it was very intellectual. I can say it, intellectually interesting because it was a good dilemma. It didn't fit. It didn't find a place. And Buffy was at the same place because she couldn't find where she fit at this time. And I found that it was particularly.
Yeah, the whole chip thing, I had a problem with that. Like, when they put me on the show, I knew that in order for Spike to be able to work within the show as a regular, it was depending on if they could get Spike to stop trying to kill Buffy somehow. Because if he keeps trying to kill Buffy, he has to fail every time, and that becomes pathetic after a while, and the character won't work at that level. And I thought, my own idea was that Spike should fall in love with Buffy, but she is disgusted by him. So he tries to be good and fails miserably every time. And he can fail in a way that's funny or horrifying, depending on the episode, but he always fails, and then of course he tries again because he's in love with her. And that would be like the best way to go about that. But they decided to put a chip in there. And what happened was I felt like I was a wild dog on a leash who was always like trying to lunge at you, and not being able to do it. And that worked too. Yeah.
Thank you very much to Buffy.
Thank you.
Hi.
Well,
I have a question about Kristine Sutherland. She left after 4 seasons of Angel because she was pregnant, I think. But after she only came for 1 episode in season 5. And my question is, why did she left? Why was she fired? If she was fired, or I'm not sure actually what happened.
I don't think that really we can talk about it.
All I can say is that thank God she left, because the reason that I came on Buffy was that I was the new Cordelia. That's why that was hired, because Cordelia went over to Angel, and they needed a character to tell Buffy that she's stupid and we're all about to die. So you need someone to say that. And they were talking about, well, who do we get for that? And Sarah actually said, Josh, wouldn't Spike be perfect for that? And he's like, oh my God, yes. And that's why in the first couple episodes of season 4, I'm always running around with my coat around, catching on fire, because they're trying to get me into the room with the gang during the daytime so I can tell Buffy that she's stupid and we're all about to die. And like at some point, the crew was getting sick of all the smoke around, and I knew that wasn't going to work, and I thought I was going to be, I thought that I had failed being the new Cordelia and they were going to kill me off. But they figured out something else. And then, when she left Angel, they needed another Cordelia, and they put me on. So I've been her replacement my entire time. I guess, yeah, just filling her shoes.
And for her death, she came so for 1 episode in season 5, and then at the phone, Angel heard that she's dead. But the episodes after it, they don't talk about her, like nothing happened. And I asking myself why, because she played a lot of episodes, and they at the end they are little talking about her, about vision and stuff, but not the episode right after it. And I wonder why.
That could have been better writing, I agree. They should have referred to her death more.
I think it's sad for the fans who liked Cordelia.
I agree, it was sad for the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really like, oh, they don't say anything, there is no funeral. Oh, okay.
I know, after such a long time on both shows.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it wasn't the best.
Okay.
Yeah. The funny thing about, I can tell you though, I always thought that Charisma Carpenter was...
I watch it!
I know. Now it's like,
You have great deep teacher. Do you watch any anime whatsoever?
no, I'm not that. It's not that I don't like it. There's literally not enough hours in my day.
Yeah.
But now that we say this, then we'll watch it.
Dragon Ball Z is awesome.
They've got a new series, Dragon Ball Super now.
Which I might voice on that.
Oh, my
Yeah. It's going to be my redemption for this horrible movie called Dragon Ball.
Can I make that an exclusive now? Can I say that on my Facebook and say, I just got to get across the request and invite you to voice the Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah.
It's not a block. I haven't signed anything, but I was emailing Kristine Sutherland, who is the director of that, and he's like, yeah, if we can fit you in, if there's something right for you, we'd love to.
That's what we get short about
Yeah.
So you got the voice of Goku, and the voice of Vegeta.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and then I'll ask you some more random questions tomorrow. I wasn't going to sworn not to ask it.
I'm shameless. I can admit it. That was not a good movie.
No, not that. Just because I was asking about Dragon Ball Z, and it was like, why are you asking just Dragon Ball Z questions? It's like, well, this is my program. I'm asking. This is for the
You paid your ticket price. Anytime you want to ask me about Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, yes.
I will. Okay, just one last question for both of you. Who would embrace Superman or Flash?
The Flash, because he would cheat. Superman would never cheat. The Flash would.
What do you think?
I would probably say Flash.
I would too.
And
Hi.
Hello.
One of the funniest episodes, I missed my pants. Is the part where you open a box and you walk away and you'll be bitching about that it's not a box. You walk into a door. And
Me?
no.
I'm like, I don't know.
What is this episode? I didn't even know.
One of the Angels episodes, Lady of Her, you get a box from Harmony, you open it, there's nothing in it. And you're kind of pissed, you want to walk to Angel to bitch about it, and you walk into the door. And I've watched it over and over again. I was wondering, did you have to practice very often? You used to be a ghost, and suddenly you were
Yeah. No, that's that little walk into the door. It's a pretty common gag for comedy. So I learned how to do it on the stage, and it's actually pretty easy. You just get your hands up and thump the door with your hands, and then take it out. It wasn't there when you're younger; it's easier. And you just act like your nose got bad, or you kick the door slightly. I hate to tell you, but it's actually kind of an easy gag.
I understand it's an easy gag, but it was just, very unexpected. Very funny. The part of Gloria, she's a bit of a psycho. Is it hard to do the switch? You have to switch, every second between being all nice and lovely and being all, I'm gonna ruin everything around me.
Well, it wasn't too hard. No, I mean, that was part of the fun of the character. You know what I mean? And you kind of, as an actor, you want those roles that are challenging and different, unique, and she was all of those things encompassed into one role. So she was,
And not very many actors can do that. Seriously, though, that I agree that like one of the delicious things about Glory are those beat changes, from being really nice to really mean. Just 90 degrees, like that. And you have to be able to like actually act to do that. And a lot of actors are good at being themselves, and they can be believable and stuff. But when you ask them to turn corners like that, it's really hard for them to do it. And when you're turning corners constantly, I don't know, you were.
well, thanks, but see, I'm not very good at being myself. On camera, I'm much better at roles that are challenging. So
Like a Johnny Depp.
I'm like a character actor trapped in a ingenue's body. But anyway, yes, thank you. That was part of the fun of playing.
Hi.
It's like,
So I suppose to ask both of you what you feel about the evolution of the vampire media. So we've had Dracula, Lost Boys, Lestat, yourself, and the further we go, the worse and worse.
It's all about the zombie now. I mean, it's kind of vampire kind of had its heyday.
Generally need vampires now, they're all sparkly. What do you think about it?
Well, Buffy wasn't a show so much about vampires. Buffy was about relationships, and it was, the backdrop of the show was vampires and demons and gods. But what the meat of the show was about friendship and survival and getting through the nightmares of the daily life and enjoying the moments in between. And now when I look at stuff like Twilight or, you know, Vampire Diaries, it's about the vampire and not about the relationships. So, you know, there's merit to those newer projects, but I feel like that's what made Buffy unique.
Yeah, the thing that I find interesting about vampires is that there are, in a way, there's no rules to vampires. Like if you write Frankenstein, he has to be a child mind in a monster's body. Those are the rules, and if you change those rules, it's not Frankenstein anymore. If you write the Wolfman, it's got to be a nice guy that is corrupted by the moon to do acts of evil. If the Wolfman is a jerk to begin with, it just doesn't work. If you write the Invisible Man, he's got to be a jerk who turns invisible, because if it's a really nice guy who turns invisible, what's he going to do? It's not exciting, right? But if it's a jerk, it's like, oh no, you know. But vampires seem to be more malleable, and you can change the rules, and they still feel like vampires. And so you get a lot of different versions about, you know, how to use those. And the gentleman vampire, you know, which is kind of the Twilight thing. Okay, you know, I don't know if that's as power. I don't know if that's. I'm not sure if that's where the power of the myth of vampire is really, but it works for them, I guess. You know, Joss used to say he doesn't like that Anne Rice crap. Like he didn't want you to feel for his vampires. He wanted vampires to be a metaphor for all of the things that you get over in high school. So vampires are supposed to be ugly and very quickly dead. That's why when we bite on Buffy, when we bit someone, we were ugly. We changed because he didn't want that moment to be sensual. He wanted it to be horrific. But I think one of the reasons that vampires aren't as good as they were on Buffy is not because they changed the mythology. It's just because Joss Whedon is not writing vampires anymore. And until Joss Whedon does another vampire show, they won't be as good.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Thank you.
He moved to Marvel.
Yeah.
And now where's his next stop? We don't know.
Iron Man's so good. Yeah.
But how did you begin your career?
I went to college, to university, and studied to be an actor in New York City. And then I started out in the theater as well. And Bring It On was my first big acting job, and Buffy was my second. So I started off with those two projects. I got very spoiled. And I never returned to New York since then. Still my permanent there.
And now about the future, James and Julia, what is the future of your professional life now?
I have
no idea.
But to answer your question, I have a couple of movies coming out. I said this in the panel, but I'll just quickly say one came out in October in the States called Tales of Halloween. John Savage is in that one too. And then I have one called The Lost Street, which will be coming out this next June. And then I have 2 pilots I just did, CBC, and then geeknation.com is my website, so I encourage you to go there, check it out, read it, listen, and watch all the content.
You, James, you don't know, you will be in Paris in
Yeah.
March?
I got a movie, Dragon Warriors, is coming out. I've got another movie. Nouvelle Vie.
He'll tweet it to you.
Nouvelle Vie. Nouvelle Vie is another movie that's coming out. I've got, let's see, read the books on tape. I may be in. The guy who directed Metal Hurlant is doing a larger scale. Metal Hurlant, you know Metal Hurlant? Is it? It shows all around Europe, and it's like Twilight Zone, which is like really good writing, good acting, cool special effects, and stories where everyone loses in the end, every time, like Twilight Zone. But he wants to do a season of Metal Hurlant, except it's only one story and not each individual story for each episode. And he wants to have like a World War II setting where English people get shot down over Germany, and they take refuge in a castle, and then all hell breaks loose in the castle. And he wants me to be the commander of the English forces who are getting eaten alive and stuff.
Sounds like a beat comedy.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to that. I haven't signed anything for that, so I can't say that's definitely happening. I might be into the Badlands. We're in talks for that. Again, I don't know. This is the thing as an actor, you don't know. I would have told you I was going to be on HBO. That was like I knew that was going to go, and then it didn't. Let's see, my band is we're working on our 4th album. The last album is out. We're going to do your West Coast tour for that.
Yeah, but it's because you've got a beautiful voice. I told you, your voice is deep. You're a real singer too.